1. Brace yourselves, sweet children, you're in for a long trip. I figure I should start with a couple of bullets. This actually started about a year ago and is still an ongoing thing. I'm military, which is only important for the story to say my medical and dental insurance fully covers everything. Everyone is required to get an annual physical and dental checkup, with most people, including myself, doing it in their birth months, because it's easy to remember. Short backstory. When I was a young lad, I had to get a root canal done to my right front tooth. The crown was a perfect fit and didn't cause any problems. But when I joined, I fell in love with coffee for the first time, thus staining my teeth, except the fake one. Right, so let's actually start this story. Let's go back to August of last year. I wake up one morning to get ready for work when I notice something a little off about my left front tooth. Namely, that a small part of it was missing. It didn't hurt. There was nothing wrong with the tooth itself, so I decided that since my birth month is in September, I was going to hold off getting it checked out until I go for the annual checkup. I make the appointment, wait a couple weeks, and it's off to dental I go. They lay me back in the chair and get x-rays, and come back a little while later with some news for me. Ms. Dentist, so the rays have come back and everything looks fine. But that crack in your left front tooth is a fracture. Luckily, it's a small fracture and shouldn't be hard to fix. Me. Nice to hear, ma'am. Is it something that can be treated today? Ms. Dentist. Not today. But we have two ways of going about this. Me. Oh? Ms. Dentist. So, option 1 is we treat it like a cavity. Seal it up, and you'd be in and out within an hour. Option 2, grabs handheld mirror. So, I want you to answer truthfully. Do you like how your teeth look? With the one front tooth brighter than the others? Me. It's a bit distracting, but I've managed over the years. What do you have in mind, ma'am? Ms. Dentist. What if we replace it? We replace the bright crown with something more your color. And then we put a crown on the left front tooth to match the new right. Fuck up number 1. I could have said no, taken the 1-hour option, and still be able to eat tacos that day. But I decided I wanted to let Ms. Dentist fix a smile I wasn't happy with. And so the game started. 1 week later, I was back in the chair with drills, miscellaneous pointy objects, and what looked, smelled, and tasted like modeling clay jammed into my mouth. But at the end of the day, I had me a new pair of front teeth that looked like I picked up a pebble and said, I think this'll make a fine tooth, and shoved it into my jaw. When I left, she gave me a piece of paper with a bunch of clinics on it, in case something happened, and told me to only eat soft foods with it for a while. Fuck up number 2. I decided that by soft foods, that meant I could have soft tacos, cause no crunch required. The fucking crown on my right front tooth broke off in my taco. So I walk in the next day and all I have to do is smile. They figured it out, and I got sent to a different clinic who had an idea on how to fix it. They were going to take out the root canal that had been in there for the last few years, clean it out, make a post that was modeled to the inside of my tooth, and make a new crown. While we waited for that to get done, it was going to take at least a month, they decided to make a transparent plastic retainer that would physically hold the tooth in place for aesthetic purposes. But it had served no functional purpose, meaning whenever I wanted to eat, I was old Bucky One Tooth. A month passes and now I have a new crown, and a nice gold post for it to hold on to. Thing is though, Ms. Dentist, who did most of the procedures leading up to this point despite working in a different clinic, I guess they decided to say he was yours in the first place, which happens a lot with military dentists. She had another idea. Since we were already going to do the crowns, it might look even better for the smile aesthetically to also do a crown lengthening. By cutting out some of the gums around the top of the front teeth, it would, quote, give you that Hollywood smile. Fuck up number 3. If I am to do this, might as well go all out, right? Break out the scalpel, Doc. I'll save you the intimate details on what this terrifying thing entailed, but it involved this. I was going numb, but fully conscious for the entire surgery. There was going to be blood and water everywhere. I was going to be blindfolded so I didn't freak out when I see the blade coming for my face. 2 hours later I stumble home, with gauze in my mouth, barely able to speak. But at least after this point, the only thing I have to worry about was getting the better crowns in. I had and still have temporary crowns in my mouth. And I'd be set, right? Time to enjoy some time off. I haven't went home in like a year. Fuck up number 4, I went home. And one of the crowns fell out. I lost that little fucker in the grass more than once, and would find it 20 minutes later. I'd wash it out, soak it in vodka, sterilization, and put it in a Ziploc bag to dry. Why was this a fuck up? Because when I got back to town, I had some swelling in my upper lip. Why? I'll get there. So it turns out Ms. Dentist left and made way for a new dentist. He had ideas on what to do too, and it would ensure my teeth weren't ever gonna fall again. His idea? Other dentist. I'm gonna make a mold of both your front teeth and make a really big crown instead of 2 smaller ones. Essentially, you're gonna have a giant front tooth that looks like 2. Genius. So, I got my new fancy unitooth installed and it hurt. He purposefully made it tighter around the posts than the other had been, saying that even if the dental cement gave out on one, the other would still support it. This is where that swelling comes into play. See, once my mouth got used to the new unitooth, the swelling suddenly kicked into overdrive, until it looked like I had just picked a fight with the wrong guy. And for some reason, it seemed really attracted to the area right above my left front tooth. I hit it with some ibuprofen and Tylenol, and neither of them had any effect, so I casually walk into the dentist office and ask them to check it out. As long as it wasn't an emergency, I can deal with it, right? It's an emergency. As it turns out, the root of my left front tooth had gotten infected because of me fucking losing that crown when I went home. The swelling wasn't blood or saliva. It was what I can only describe as this tan ooze that tasted like sewer water smelled. I had to get a root canal on the spot, and a piece of surgical tubing was sewn into my gums to get out any extra shit they hadn't gotten out by cutting the swollen spot open. I do not wish the pain I felt when they cut it open on even my worst enemy. The tube fell out a couple days later, and since then I've been on track, with the only remaining thing to do is get those permanent crowns now, and I have an appointment for that in a little over a week. It's been one hell of a trip, man. 2. So a few months ago I had just bought a new dirt bike after fucking up my four-wheeler by seizing the motor from running it dry of oil. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm 18 and a complete show-off. So back to the story. The dirt bike I bought was a 2-stroke. They're powerful bikes, especially with a power band. I love doing catwalks, but I suck at them. The first fuck up, I was driving in my lawn and hit the power band, doing a fairly decent catwalk, but I shifted gears to the second gear and hit the power band again, and the bike shot out from under me. That exact same day, I decided to go for a little drive through the village, and this was the time where all the cottagers were leaving and going back to the city. I had to do some road riding for a while to get to the grocery store, to get a drink and a few snacks, but just at that moment, I saw a carload of girls get out, so I obviously decided to show off a little bit. I kicked my bike over and did a little donut and spun off. I I came back and they were just getting into the car. Second fuck up was the worst one from both. A little backstory, I've done this several times and succeeded. But this one time I fucked up. I decided to do a little catwalk past them and wave. So I did a good, decent long one. But just after I got past them, the power band kicked in and boom on my ass and the bike hit a car. I got up quick as possible and took off. About 2 minutes down the road I saw their car. They were following me. I slowed down after they flashed the lights and came to a stop. They were freaking out saying, "Are you okay? You're insane," but that was cool. I said I was okay and they giggled. One of the girls got out and told the other ones to go for a little drive and turn around because they were going in the wrong direction. This actually worked out, I said to myself. We talked for a good 5 minutes and I got her number. She then looked at me and started flirting. We then proceeded to kiss. Third fuck up happened. When her friends were coming back from the distance, I asked her if she had a boyfriend. She then slapped me and said, "I wouldn't have kissed you if I did." She then got in the car and left. Me and her are good now and currently still talking. She's really good looking and I've crashed many times after that. And I believe the car I hit was okay. 3. Well, it happened yesterday evening, but the consequences occurred just an hour ago. So every Friday and Saturday, I like to sit down in the evening and play some Dota 2 with my friends. This can last up to a few hours with breaks in between for calming down. However, yesterday was different. For some reason there weren't any breaks. Probably because we were having some fun. Anyway, my mum brings in 2 chicken burgers, love you mum, which I hastily devour. Seeing as I'm all focused on the game and not my posture, I hunch quite a bit. This has happened before. When I spent a whole day hunched at my computer, don't worry, I was revising. And I had a really bad stomachache, but I just lay down and it was fine. This time I apparently needed a shit, but didn't go. At about 3 in the morning, I'm getting these bad pains. In what I presume is my colon or something. Either that or my appendix. Now, I've had constipation before, but not like this. My lower abdomen felt like it was twisting, so much that I was bent over to one side in pain. It felt like something had exploded big time. I managed to heave myself over to my bathroom and collapse on the toilet, hunched again due to the pain. This must have been the most excruciating 10 minutes of my life. It felt like I was pushing a rock-solid fetus through my lower abdomen. Out comes one turd, pain still there. I've lost so much energy trying to get this food demon out of me. It's making me tired. Out comes 2. I sit up, because the pain has finally gone. But it wasn't over. Out comes the most diarrhea I have ever seen in a long time. I can't even see the water of the bowl is how much. It feels so good, but I forgot I'm a fucking idiot. I start getting up, and I feel what I think is a fart. As I'm halfway getting up, liquid diarrhea sprays out of my ass and against the toilet seat, which acted like a mirror, spraying it right back. I jumped up, it's still spraying, and it sprayed everywhere, including on me. Shit on the walls, shit all over the toilet, shit on the floor, shit on me. Commence the shittiest night of cleaning and showering ever. 4. So we go to Vegas for my bachelor party. Classic. And my guys are way bigger drinkers than I am, and do their sworn duty of getting me hammered at my party. I'm at my limit where I'm drunk and feeling good, and I know one more drink of anything would be too much. My best friend and best man comes up to me with a glass in his hand. Some backstory here. At this point he was jobless and didn't have much money. but managed to get to Vegas to celebrate with me. I was doing everything I could to keep his costs down because I wanted him there. How do you turn a drink down from your best man, friend, who just spent what little money he had to have a celebratory drink with me on my big night? You can't. He knew that, and he's an asshole. I asked what it was after drinking it because it has a serious kick, even after all the other stuff I drank. He smiles and tells me a 4 horsemen. If you don't know what that is, Google it. Being at my limit already. That drink shoved me off a cliff and I can only remember clips for the rest of the night. I remember throwing the dice playing craps. Once. I remember ducking a kiss from one of my gay friends who took his shot while I was gone. And I remember getting dragged back to my hotel room. Apparently, on the way back to the hotel, I projectile vomited out the window of the cab, which one of my groomsmen got on video with his phone. I also left my brand new phone in the cab and lost it. Then, upon reaching Treasure Island, where we were staying, I stumbled out of the car, turned around, pointed at the cab driver and declared, "Tip the man!" This phrase has been regularly used by everybody in the group at my expense since, and I get laughed at every time. I had to pay for a new phone, and I remember that night from about 2 a.m. on very clearly. From the ice-cold tile floor of my hotel bathroom, vomiting my guts out for hours. To this day, I can't drink anything besides Long Island iced teas, because you can't taste the alcohol when made right. And margaritas without vomiting immediately after drinking. My body rejects it now, and I get really sick if I try to keep it down. Still not sure if it was worth it because I can't really remember it. But it makes for a good story. 5. Alright, let me start off by saying this story is entirely true, although I wish it wasn't. The whole nightmarish event took place back in 1997, and at the time I was a courier in Nashville, Tennessee. I would deliver just about anything: body parts, fluids, biopsies, construction equipment, and even paper for printing mills. Yep, I did the whole gambit. The start of my shame came on a day during the summer. I was given the task of delivering a manila envelope to a corporate client located downtown on Dedrick Street, in a high-rise building nestled among other corporate high-rises. I finally found the correct building and located the service entrance. It was a narrow ramp, going down into an underground service garage. On the way down the ramp, I suddenly was hit with the most excruciating abdominal pain I've ever had. It felt like someone who was very angry with me had decided to jam a full fork into my guts and twist it like I was a plate of spaghetti. I am doubled over, gripping the steering wheel for all I was worth. The pain was so intense I feared I would have to rush myself to the hospital because clearly I was having some sort of horrendous restructuring of my internal organs. Was it a kidney stone or infection? No. My kidneys were in my back, not my guts. Could it be some kind of alien embryo hatching, and the newborn creature was trying its best to burst out of me like a gruesome acid-filled hatchling? Probably. I just knew any second I would detonate into a fountain of blood and fecal matter right there inside my truck. I began to sweat profusely, and my heart pounded inside my chest. As I drove around looking for a parking spot, the pain intensified twofold, and I began to moan in mortal agony. I parked the truck and found the service elevators which would take me to the ground floor lobby. From there, I could take an elevator up to the client's office and complete my mighty task. I slowly hobbled to the glass enclosure that surrounded the service elevators. I was doubled over in pain, mere seconds away from death. I pressed the only button for elevators there was, up, and went inside. As the elevator ascended, I felt a distinct grumble, and what felt like my insides shifting. And suddenly the pain was gone. Completely gone. This scared me almost as much as the initial strike on the ramp. What could cause such a bone-shattering pain and then disappear entirely? I thought to myself. Maybe I wasn't going to die after all. Maybe I would survive long enough to mate and carry on the family lineage. Hope filled my very soul at the thought. I would live. Live! Oh, life was such a wonderful thing. I was smiling as the elevator doors opened to reveal a very nice, very modern lobby. There were 6 elevators inside the lobby, 3 on each side. As I left the service elevator, I saw several people lined up outside the only elevator on the ground floor. They filed in and the doors began to close. I shouted to hold the elevator and I ran in its direction. A hand shot out from inside the elevator and kept the doors from closing. I rounded the corner to find the elevator completely filled with people, mostly women, young women, beautiful women. Office women wearing tight-fitting office clothes and dresses. There were 2 other men in the elevator besides me. It was so full I had to squeeze in and ended up mere inches from the sliding doors. It was at this point that I noticed 2 very important things. 1, the interior of the elevator was lined with highly polished brass walls, which were honed to a mirror shine. I could easily see everyone behind me in vivid detail. 2, the hellish agony of death was back, and more angry than ever. But this time the pain was slightly different. It had moved because I knew exactly what was causing it. Gas. I had the biggest, most badass gas bubble since the time of the dinosaurs. Truly, only the biggest sauropods could hope of creating such a powerful gas bubble without detonating like an orbital strike. I could feel the icy hand of death upon me once again. The bubble was intensely pressurizing my O-ring something fierce. I gripped my buttocks so tightly that my boxers nearly ripped from my pelvis. Sweat had once again begun to pour down my face. My legs trembled. My eyes darted around in a panic. Clearly no one in the elevator knew just how close to death they really were. The poor fools. I looked up at the floor indicator and nearly yelled in shock and anger as the thing slowly drew up from floor 1 to floor 2 in about 15 to 20 seconds. Mary Mother of God, this thing was taking almost half a minute to reach each floor. I nervously looked at the address on the envelope and gasped. The client's office was located on the 22nd floor. Dear God in heaven. I quickly did the math inside my head. I wasn't going to make it. A man has only so much strength. Terrified, I looked around for something, anything I could use to stem the inevitable. But there was nothing but tightly packed, very pretty women all around me. Oh, what have I done to deserve this, Lord? I thought to myself. Have I sinned against thee? As the elevator ding announced our arrival at the 3rd floor, after nearly a minute and a half, panic began to set in. I closed my eyes and concentrated. Hold, O-ring, I thought to it, as if it could understand me. You must not pass. Hold the line, damn you. We're all counting on you. Please. An eternity passed. Ding. The 4th floor had been achieved. Another eternity. Ding. The 5th floor was reached. The gas bubble reached out now, and contacted me through the pain. It wanted out right fucking now, and it wouldn't take no for an answer. I tried to negotiate terms of release. The bubble wouldn't listen. It was stubborn and strong. It knew it was less than an inch from total freedom, and it fought against my muscly O-ring for all it was worth. The battle had begun. and I was on the losing end, along with everyone else in the elevator. I imagined a line of troops bravely marching into battle. Ding! The 6th floor had come. I was completely desperate now. My troops had fought bravely, but time was running out. The gas bubble was pressing harder than ever now, and the bright spikes of pain were shooting outward from my rear to my back and upper body. I clenched my teeth and fists in righteous defiance against the gas bubble. I began to shake. Ding! The 7th floor. I had reached my breaking point. I could feel my O-ring starting to quiver like a weightlifter, trying to lift too much weight. Clearly, mere flesh wouldn't be enough to hold back the horde of noxious fumes any longer. I had to do something, anything or else. The unthinkable would happen. When the human mind is stretched beyond its breaking point, and stress has built to intolerable levels, it will begin to consider the impossible. Nay, even the most ludicrous ideas imaginable. I realized I could no longer hold the stink gas back. So, an idea formed out of pure desperation. What if I let up? Just a little, teeny, itty-bitty, bit of squeeze from my O-ring. Enough to relieve a fraction of the pressure from the gas bubble. So I can hold it long enough to get to a bathroom. Had to work, I thought to myself. What choice did I have? Ding! The 8th floor. Damn it! I could think of nothing else. The time had come to give birth to this monstrous bubble of foul mist, and I couldn't ignore or negotiate with it any longer. I had to act now. If I let up just a little bit, let my stressed O-ring relax just a fraction, easy now, not too fast, just let up a little. Ding! The 9th floor. It did not go as I had planned. I had hoped, no, prayed, for a silent release of some of the gas, enough to let me contain it until I could locate a bathroom. It was not to be. The resultant explosion was as loud and as mighty as you can imagine. I saw my life pass before my eyes. If anyone has ever been around Godzilla when he defecates, then they might recognize this hurricane of stinky. Human language wasn't meant to describe things such as this, but I shall do my best. The gas bubble sensed weakness and pushed with everything it had. My O-ring, now slightly looser from strained muscles and me trying to relax him a little, finally collapsed immediately. The resultant swamp gas explosion was as terrible as much as it was loud and long. The pent-up energy was equal to about 20 megatons, I'd say. And it blew out of me with extreme force, with ear-shattering bass and gurgles. At this point, I was along for the ride as much as any of the other poor souls in this elevator. The monster fart just kept going and going and going and going. It wouldn't stop. The whole damn bubble was escaping all at once, and I was powerless to hold it back. My body bucked and shook with the force of the release. I placed my hands on the shiny brass doors, trying to keep myself upright. My legs were spread about shoulder length apart for better leverage, and were shaking badly from the effort. I became a human tuba, and nothing on this earth was going to stop this release no matter what. I closed my eyes and held on for dear life. I was a torn flag upon a windswept battlefield, thrashing in the stiff breeze. I could feel my insides collapse back to their natural resting places as a cloud of hate left my body. Time stood still. There was nothing but this rocket of Pooh Paris. The whole passing finally ended on a literal high note. Almost a squeak. Then, silence. Grim, terrible silence. Ever so slowly, I opened my eyes, and they began to tear up with relief. The agony was gone. I was free. Oh dear God, the smell. Dear reader, I'll give you the description of it. Suffice it to say, 10-day-old cadavers have more pleasant-smelling gas than this terrible ozone-killing mist I just gave birth to. It was heavy like gravy and could easily be tasted in the air. I looked into the brass doors and could clearly see every woman in the elevator covering their noses and desperately trying to push themselves into every nook and cranny they could find. I suddenly had volumes of room around me. I heard one man weep. There was gagging and soft praying coming from the shocked and disgusted crowd. Other women were trying to aid a co-worker who had passed out. Ding, the 10th floor. Oh Lord, did I feel better. It almost matched my humiliation in size and scale. I was completely mortified. Ding, the 11th floor. Time returned to normal for me, and I was so happy about there being no more pressure. Ding, the 12th floor. I couldn't pull my eyes off the poor women who were still trying to get away from my butt spray. The foul fog hung in the air in curtains. I think one poor girl tried to commit suicide. It took another solid 5 minutes or more to reach the 22nd floor. Once the doors open, I quickly strutted off the elevator, very happy with myself. No pain. Yay! I turned back, and what I saw I will never forget. It was the look in their eyes, you see. No one else got off the elevator besides me. They had to continue on up higher in the building. As the doors slowly closed, they gave me a look as if to say, "Why? Why did you do this to us? What did we do to you? How can you live with yourself? You have defiled us, corrupted us. Our souls have been permanently wounded. You savage bastard. Why?" The doors closed and I skipped my merry ass to the receptionist's desk and handed over the envelope. The woman looked at me and wrinkled her nose. I simply said to her, "I know, I smelled it too. Someone farted in the elevator," and turned away with the biggest shit-eating grin on my face ever. Thus ends the second most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me. Someday I'll tell you about the worst, most embarrassing moment in my life. Let's just say it has something to do with nudity and my local Verizon store. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Embarrassing Stories, episode 15. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. This was a combination of subscriber stories and ones I sourced from the TIFU Reddit. And, well, I gotta be honest, if it wasn't for you good subscribers sending these stories in, I would not have had enough to do the video this week. Lots of stories are posted there every week, but obviously I need to make sure I'm getting the right kind of ones to do the videos. So, thank you very much to everyone involved. I'd also just like to say I'm taking on board your opinions on posting the paranormal video. At the moment it seems split, so it's probably just going to end up being posted on a Friday like usual. And if you'd rather have it on the Monday, then totally cool, just watch it on Monday. Probably for the best that way anyway. That way it gets a few days before Halloween, to get some views, and it probably wouldn't do as well on Halloween anyway. I can't really remember what last year was like in terms of the view count, but I'd imagine people will be out at parties and things on Halloween. I'm not sure if it's still a big thing in America. I know it's not really as big in the UK as it used to be. It certainly is still celebrated. You do still get kids going around doors, but nowhere near what it used to be. I believe I mentioned previously I don't get many at my door, which is a good thing because I just pretend I'm not home anyway. Partly because it's just the same kids that give me cheek the rest of the year, and then they come to the door wanting sweets. Or candy, if you prefer. That's just not on. God, I sound like a miserable kid. Anyway, there's also that, and the fact I've noticed that Halloween candy, the local stores just don't seem to get, the Halloween themed candy? Like chocolate eyeballs and little skulls, that sort of thing. They just don't seem to get as much in as they used to. Which makes it harder for me, because I usually put together the 2 bags for my niece and my nephew. And last year, I wasn't very happy with the bags last year, so I was hoping to do better this year, and the choice was about the same. So they each got a little extra special thing in each of their bags. My niece has got a little plushy bat figure. It's a little soft toy. I don't know if she'll be interested in it, but I'm sure she can chuck it if she's not. And my nephew, because he's much older, a little too old for Halloween to be honest with you, he's getting a little miniature Crystal Head vodka in his bag. He's perfectly old enough to drink, that's why he's getting the vodka. Okay, and with that I think I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.